They had it back in stock. What was I supposed to do? Yuck. And bada bing, bada boom, I am pest free. Hello, welcome. I'm Stephanie, and on this channel, I love talking about my houseplants. In today's video, I will be doing a little bit of houseplant chores. There are some plants that need to be repotted and they need to be put on moss poles, and I thought, why not do it and bring you along with me? In the background behind the scenes is my mom, who will be another pair of hands that will be helping me. So occasionally you'll see her hands sort of here and there, or you may hear her voice in the background. You may be familiar with my mom's houseplant collection because recently I filmed her entire houseplant collection tour. It's pretty awesome. So you may want to check out that video after watching this one. Okay, so let's get started because I have a lot to do. She was actually saying that I'm very ambitious because I have a long list of things. So let's not make it a long intro. Let's just get started. All right, so let's start with my first plant. This is my philodendron silver sword. I had it for a while. I actually got it as cuttings from a friend. We did a trade and I've had it in here, for maybe a year now, or maybe just about a year. What if I don't make a mess? There we go. So I've had it for about a year now. I had it rooting in water, and then I put it in sphagnum moss, and then I put it in sphagnum moss with perlite at the bottom. So just removing the excess hair. It dries out really fast, super fast. And so I think it's time to add some soil to it. And because I'm surprised, even with sphagnum moss, something that retains water really well, it dries out super fast. But anyways, I watered it recently and it's still a little bit damp, so I don't mind. Usually with other plants, I would try to remove as much of the sphagnum moss as possible, but this plant has proven to me to be quite resilient. So I am just going to leave the moss on it as is. So I just have this nursery pot here, and I'm just going to put a little bit of the mix at the bottom. I really wish that these had saucers. I would love to put it into something with a saucer, but it's not quite big enough yet. I mean, I could put it in a different nursery pot with a saucer, a different pot, I should say, not nursery, with a saucer, but I think I like it like this. I don't want to chop it up and make it smaller. So that's it. I just put about, actually I have a little bit too much in here. So I'm just going to put about 1/3 into the pot. I actually want it to be even deeper than that. I guess I don't need too much of this substrate because I'm keeping a lot of the sphagnum moss, well, all of the sphagnum moss pretty much. So I don't need to have too much soil. So I'm just gonna pop this in here. And I feel like I want to add a stick. I feel like I want to add something for it to stand up on, because if you watched my houseplant tour of my mom's collection, hers is like standing on a bamboo stick and it looks so good. It's growing really well. It's sizing up nicely, and I want that for myself. I want that for this one too. And then when I put it on a stick, sort of tape it up and then put it to stand up and grow upwards somewhat like this. See? But so far, I'm just gonna let it hang until I can find one. I have some bamboo sticks somewhere around. I just need to find one. Okay, and that's it. First plant done. Oh, I wish I had the sticks, but I'm just gonna pop this on the side for now. The next plant up on the list is my Pothos. This one, this one has not been treated very nicely by me for a long time. It is in this sort of mix that I just very haphazardly just pushed together, and so wow, this is hard, and it dries out very quickly. The soil is quite old and I think it's just ready to say goodbye to this mixture, if not this entire pot. Like, wow, I don't think you're root bound. Like, what? You're not that big, and the pot is not that small. And I watered this recently, as in less than a week ago. And I don't even empty out this pot. Whenever it, there you go. Oh, wow. Whenever it leaks or drains out into the pot, I actually leave it there because it's so thirsty. Man, are you really root bound? Is that what you're trying to say to me? Okay, then. I guess that's what it's trying to say to me. Oh, poor thing. I'm sorry. And I didn't even prepare a bigger pot for you. Look at this. Look at these roots. Oh, look at it. Oh, that's too bad. I did not know that it was so root bound because it doesn't look that big. When you look at it from the top, it doesn't look that big. Or maybe it could be that it just didn't have enough soil in that pot. But when you look at the plant itself, it's not that big. And it only has, I think, 3 plants in here, if so much. But anyways, I'm going to, I guess the thing I had in mind is going to be too small for it. So I'm going to have to use something else. What do you think? What do you think? Do you think this is too big? I don't think so either. I don't think this is too big. I know some people would think it is, but considering the rate at which this is growing, I think that this will be fine for it. And if anything, apart from making even more mess, which I'm very good at, so glad we didn't mop the floors this morning. See? Oh, and this could go in here. Look at that. Look at that. Look. Don't you just like when that happens? There you go. Right. So, as I was saying, what was I saying? Right. What I could do is even chop this up a little bit more and stick some leaves, some cuttings back into the pot to make it full again. I got a on the side. So, I hope you still watch this video, even if you're seeing it live. Are you still going to watch it? Mm-hmm. Oh, she said yes. Wonderful. It's my #1 fan here. She and my son, they compete to be my #1 fan. He's my manager. Let's put it this way. He's my manager. He's like, Mommy, have you done your favorites video yet? And she's my, my #1 fan. All right. So I put about half of the pot. It'll need quite a bit because, a much bigger pot. And this was living in my north-facing window. So this is quite risky doing this because this is a lot of soil and it's not going to dry out as fast. But considering that it's not getting that much light. But I did make this mix quite chunky. So that's one of the pros of making the mixes chunky, right? Because if I had just used the regular mix that came in the bag, it would definitely have been just way too dense, way too compact for it. It needs to dry out a little bit faster. So now I've put in all of these lovely chunks in here. It's going to make it dry out just a little bit faster. And I really want that because I know it's going to get less, it's getting less than in the north-facing window that it's currently in. So perfect. This is it here. And I think I actually want to chop a little bit back. But you know what? I won't chop from this plant and put it in here. My son has one in his room that's actually touching the floor already. I don't want to repot it or anything. I want to leave it there just like how it is. So I think I'm going to take some from his room, from his plant, and I'm going to put it in here. And what I will also do is sort of wrap this plant just a little bit around and sort of let some of the soil touch the vines. So the vines with no leaves, I'm sticking it into the soil a little bit to activate those nodes, and hopefully it'll start pushing out some new growth from there as well. So this little vine is just going to wrap around a little bit, this one, and it also just gives it like just a much fuller look. Something that I've seen around that I don't have are those little pins. They look like U-shaped pins that you sort of stick into the soil to keep the plants inside. I like that. You know what? I may even just use a hairpin. Has anyone used a hairpin before to pin their plants down? Have you? Yeah, I have done it too. I've used hairpins to sort of pin my plants down in this. Okay, so I'm back. I actually went to get a bobby pin. I went to get a bobby pin. Does anyone else do this? Does anyone else use pins to sort of pin their plants in? So I know it looks really cute trailing, but I want to fill this out, especially since it has so much soil in here. So I'm going to use the bobby pin and just stick it in. Usually this works. I hope it works this time. I stuck it in. Oops, I heard a snap. Probably why other people do not use bobby pins. But even if it does snap, it will still just propagate itself. You think I would just do that, eh? You think I would just propagate it? So I went and I got some cuttings from his room. His room is in a north-facing window, and it also doesn't get that much light. Where I live, north-facing window means the least amount of light one can get. And so I am just going to take a few of his. At least what's nice is that this is also going into a north-facing window, chopping off the excess. And so hopefully it's used to getting this amount of light because it gets a north-facing window and it has to deal with, you know, not the windows not being opened every single day. So hopefully, I'm not going to chop off every single node. I think I'm just going to leave multiple nodes in so to get a higher chance of success. So I'm just placing it in and letting it touch the medium. And let's see, two hair. So I'm just going to cut again, cut hair, cut the excess off because nothing is going to grow in the middle. The new roots are going to grow from the node. So chopping off the excess and then just sticking it in. Look at an upgrade, right? This was probably the weakest, the most, not weakest, but sort of the most ignored plant in my collection. It was sort of giving me a guilt trip every time I walked up and down the stairs. I'm going to add just a little bit more, just in case. A little bit cute, but yeah. Oh, nice. And then after the fact, after I'm finished with everything, that's when when I get up, I'll water everything and put them back into their spots. Love the variegation on a marble green Pothos. Lovely. Okay. I'm going to show you some of the newbies that joined my collection today. And this might surprise you. Or maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it actually wouldn't surprise you. So my mother said in the background, it wouldn't. Because she's right. It wouldn't. If you know me well, you know that I cannot resist a Hoya Heuschkeliana. I can't. They had it back in stock. What was I supposed to do? Just walk past it? I could have. But yes, these just looked so good. And it was like a fresh stock. Maybe they just got it, fresh shipment, I should say. Like they just got it either that day or the day before. And it's healthy, it's looking good. My mom got one too, but she has already taken hers out of soil and put it into water because she's most likely going to put it in leca, right? Yes, in leca. So maybe we could show you what she did with hers. She's a lot braver than I am. Thank you. So this is what she's done with hers. So just imagine that hers looked exactly like this. And then she took it, she knocked off all the soil. Look at it. By the time you knock off all the soil, this is how teeny tiny this is, right? So she did that and she put it into water, washed off all the soil off the roots and put it into water so that it could sort of start, the rest of the soil can start soaking and getting off the roots, sort of melting off the roots. And then when she gets home, she will put it in leca. So stay tuned because I do updates on her collection as well. So I will let you know how it goes. Heuschkeliana can be finicky. They can be finicky. But for me, I will be treading ever so lightly, ever so carefully. She's a lot. How's the video going so far? Like what you see? If you do, let me know by hitting the thumbs up button down below. And you may want to consider subscribing. It's free and it'll help you to easily find my videos in the future. So some other plants that I got today are these ones. So if you saw her houseplant tour, she had a string of bananas that looked fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And so I decided to get either a string of bananas or string of dolphins, and they had string of dolphins in stock. So I decided to get a few string of dolphins. So I wanted to get one at the price. I wanted to only get one, but like one would just be a bit scarce in a pot. So I decided to get two, and the goal is to put these two together and make one nice full pot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off all the soil that it's coming with, and I'm just going to repot it and just pop it into should I put it in my soilless mix? I don't think it needs a soilless mix because it's already growing happily in soil. And so I'm just going to put it in the mix that I just made in a self-watering pot. I think that will be enough for it. But first I'm looking down because I need to find my spray bottle with my treatment. So this is my spray bottle with what I usually put on my plants to help with pests. I use horticultural oil, and I follow the instructions, use horticultural oil with some water, pop it into a spray bottle, and bada bing, bada boom, I am pest free as far as I know. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to spritz this down, give it a nice little spray. I know I could do this afterwards, but I just like to do it ASAP. ASAP. While I'm here, I'll put some on my Heuschkeliana for good measure. I actually, every time I repot or show my plants in a video, here you go. My mom wants some on hers too. I actually always spray it on my plants. So every video I bring plants to you and you can see them, I always spray them down, just, for good measure. All right, so take a look. Nice looking roots here. Not bad on this one. And let's see, I'm just going to pop off quite a bit of the roots. Oh, it's almost like they chucked this little one. I don't think you'll be able to see it, but it fell off. So I'm going to try to put it back in. I'm not the best, honestly, I'm not the best with succulents, which is shocking because I love Hoya. I do, and they behave like succulents. But for some reason, I'm never good with them because I'm sort of a hands-on plant person, and I tend to overwater, overcare, and succulents are the type of plants that you sort of set and forget. You shouldn't go at them too often because, that irritates them quite a bit. So I'm looking at the roots. I probably shouldn't have my Heuschkeliana so close while I do this, just in case. I am the queen of caution. And just a lot of soil around these roots here. All right. Soil is not the enemy. I think we've sort of gone away from soil. We've sort of drifted away from soil. I think in the plant community, we've. Oh, I lost a dolphin. Oh no. If I just stick this in the soil, would this grow? Do they grow from these? Oh, well, I'll give it a try. And the string of bananas were like that too. The queen has spoken. And this has just literally one tiny little root. Tiny little root. Oh boy. I'm wishing myself the best here. And that's my struggle with these types of succulents. They're so delicate. This ain't for the best. My reputation with succulents is not very good. I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna stop there. Second one, roots. They look good, but the plant is a bit dry. The roots are dry. It looks like they haven't been watered for a little while. When we were there, because we went early in the morning, they were just starting to water their plants. And so when we got there, the Hoya was just getting their nice little drink. I have my PESTS treatment. I'm going to spray down my roots. I don't see anything. I didn't see anything on the roots, but I'm still going to spray them down for good measure. I probably could wash them off too. Should I wash them off? No, not necessary, she says. So not necessary. So I'm just going to spray them down just in case. And now I'm just going to put them in this teeny tiny pot. I feel like this pot might be a little bit too small. I think if I was doing one plant, this pot would be big enough. But I think with two plants in one, it's too small here. So I'm just going to put it in this pot instead. This one is a little bit bigger, and I think it'll be a better fit for the two plants. This is also a self-watering pot. And also that way I don't have to go at it very often. I have the base for it somewhere, but I'll get it in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to start with some of my mix, and I'm just going to fill this back up. I'm going to focus on more of the chunkier bits rather than the soil. So what I'm going to do is focus more on the chunkier bits of my mix rather than just the soil bits. And I'm also going to pull my wick up just a little bit more so that it can evenly saturate the soil a little bit. I don't want my wick to touch the roots. I don't want them to touch the roots. I just want it to be a little bit higher. So I think I need a little bit more than this. So I'm going to put about half, just because this does not have a lot. They do not have a lot of roots. And this is the base for it. I'm just going to rest it on here and then grab these little sweethearts. Put it in here. Okay. And put these other ones in here. I think when I first started with succulents, I was not as knowledgeable. I didn't know as much as I know now. When I think it was my string of pearls. That's what I started with. I started with a string of pearls, and I didn't know as much as I know now about houseplants. So I'm hopeful and optimistic that this will be a better experience for both of us, the plants and myself. The other thing about succulents, especially these, I shouldn't say succulents, but these kinds with the very delicate leaves, they fall off so easily. The string of pearls, the dolphins, the bananas, the hooks. I find the leaves are so delicate and they fall off very easily. And I'm not the most gentle person sometimes. My hands sort of flail unknowingly. And yeah, that happens. So I'm going to take the little piece there, make sure that the soil is touching those roots, make sure it's inside of the soil, And I might have to put a little bit of extra soil at the top to sort of anchor it down. Sorry, little dolphins. I hope you can swim in soil. All right, and then my little dolphin, I'm going to stick it in. And I don't know which side. I'm assuming it's the tail first. Stick the tail into the soil and hopefully it'll propagate. Remember Free Willy? Remember that movie? Oh my goodness. As a child, I loved that movie. I watched it way too many times. And now I cannot remember a single thing about that movie. Not a single thing. Not a single thing. Comment down below if you used to watch that movie as a kid, if you've ever seen it. And if you haven't and you have no idea what I'm talking about, it's about a boy and a whale. No spoilers. A boy and a whale. And remember the end was that Michael Jackson song? Do 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 do. It was a hit. All right, so not the neatest repot I've ever done, and obviously it looks very messy because these dolphins have been beached and they've been rolling in my soil. So I'm going to wash them up afterwards at the end of it all, and they will be looking a lot cleaner then. But for now, this is how they look. That's it for my little string of dolphins. Hopefully, I hope for great things. And as it grows and when it gets established, I will sort of start chopping a little bit and sort of putting them back in to make it a fuller pot. But that's it. Chipping away at my list. All right, I haven't told you my list just because I'm not sure how successful I will be at getting everything done. But one that I've been excited and eager to repot is my philodendron Verrucosum. And that's this one here. Oh my goodness. This plant, it is one of the very few troublesome plants that I am permitting in my collection. And troublesome because many have said that it's a spider mite magnet and all the things. And as much as I like having only easy plants in my collection, I will make an allowance for this plant, for the few plants that they're so beautiful that I think they're worth it. So I have this setup. Let me introduce you to my setup. I can't remember the YouTuber that I found it from, but they also have a very popular Instagram page. So you most likely have seen this method before or stumbled across this person. But what I learned is for the Verrucosum, they benefit from having, what's it called? Leca at the bottom and then sphagnum moss at the top. And that way the roots can, on their own terms, reach down and get the water that's in the reservoir for the with the leca in it. So this is what I did when it only had 3 plants. I got it 3 leaves. When I got it, it was in soil, and then I took off the soil, and so far, so it's grown for me. One of the early leaves died, so it's maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's working on its 6th leaf here. So I'm very excited that I've managed to keep this alive. But as you can see, it's quite not leggy, but I guess leggy I would use for a plant that needs more light to be have smaller internodal spacing. So what I should say is that this plant has very wide internodal spacing. That's just the growth pattern. That's just a characteristic of this plant. So I need to put it on a moss bowl. So that's where I'm at. So I'm just going to pop it in here as delicately as possible. This plant feels very delicate. Like I just handled the Pothos, and that feels a lot more robust and stronger than this one. So anyways, I'm not going to try not to trouble the roots as much as I can. And I'm going to pop it in here in this container, but now it's going to be a pot. This is actually from, you know, when you get fruit like pineapple. I'm not sure if it's like that in many other countries or even in the US. Probably it is. But I had pineapple in here and I kept the container and now it's a plant pot. So I'm going to put it in here and I'm going to put this moss pole. The moss has dried up in here, so I probably should get it moist again. Here, my mom was so kind to give me a bowl of water for the moss to sort of start soaking in, and I'm going to put in the pon, and I clearly need more pon. I keep calling it pon. Leca. I keep calling it pon. So what I'm going to do, because I don't have any more leca, I'm going to use pon. I have leca outside. Oh, this just in. I have more leca outside. My mom spotted it. See, it's always nice to repot with a buddy. All right, so I'm just gonna add some more leca, and I actually want this to be more leca than sphagnum moss because I don't want the plant, I don't know, I want to say I don't want the plant to depend too heavily on the spag, but let's be real, I'm putting it on a moss pole. But I want the mother plant, I want it to sort of get to the reservoir. I want it to sort of start having access to the water instead of only relying on the sphagnum moss. But anyways, we'll learn. This is my first plant. This is the logic that I'm using. Is it sound logic? We'll find out in a few months. But let's start it together. So I totally forgot about my moss pool, and I probably should have put my moss pool in before putting in so much leca. But I think this should be okay, right? I have a nod of approval behind the camera. Okay, so let's go. And I should have, I've seen people put the moss first. So I think that was that would have been the smarter thing to do. Or you can just take a stick and sort of shove it in. Let's throw it in from up top. I will learn as I go. I'll learn as I go. So I want my nodes, and my nodes are the little black thingies on the plant here as I drip on the table, the little black parts at the base of the leaf. And I want these to have access to the moss pole because these are roots that are going to sink into the pole and make the plant more robust. I'm going to make it stronger. I'm going to make it absorb nutrients. You think I need to do what? You think I have too much leca? You think? Why? Some leca on top? No. Oh no, I'm going to put moss. So I'm going to put moss on the sides here. Thank you very much. And I actually do have leca here too. But I want moss to go on the sides because the moss is for the roots that are at the top, because this plant, it has such delicate and fine roots that it's almost like they want water on their own terms. And so the sphagnum moss keeps it just the right, keeps holding just the right amount of water. And then if it wants more than that, it can head down to the reservoir, which is what it was doing before I repotted it. But it could head down into the reservoir and access the water there. And then these reservoir roots will then become water roots. What I should have done is sort of push the plant, put it a little bit closer to the, put it a little bit closer. Wow, look at that. It's already so close to the top. Ah! I will definitely need to add another pole soon, but this is not a fast growing plant. And that's another reason why I like it. Even if it's fussy, it's not fast growing and it can get very big. So it means that it will not outgrow my space too quickly. So that's my logic and I'm sticking to it. Put a little bit more and then I'm going to have to find my plant tape. So I've got some plant tape. I think this tape actually came with the poles. The pole. So I'm just gonna wrap it around here. This tape is using up. This pole is so big, it's using up a lot of tape. but I'm going to use just this here, cut it. So I'm just going to tighten the tape here. There we go. And yeah, oh, okay. So what I will do though is I'm going to take out the other leaves and just keep the main vine. Turn, baby, turn, turn, turn. The other leaves can be free. And I'm going to make sure that the nodes are inside, almost like they're inside, because I want them to touch the moss. Okay. And then I can see I have some gaps here. So I'm just going to stick some more moss down. Okay, that's good. So I think I probably will need one more piece of tape here. So I'm just going to tie it here. There we go. I'll put this one closer. So this is how it looks so far. It's so cute. The final thing. Let's see. How does it look? Yeah. How cute. Now the thing is, you can see how the leaves are pointing upward because it lives behind me in this area and they're pointing upwards. So this may have to get rehomed to the basement where I have my standing Barrina grow light so that it can face forward. And then we'll have some pretty new leaves. The spag can't be too wet. Usually when I use spag, or if I'm making a moss bowl, I would use fertilized water there's a tip, fertilized water, so that the petioles at the top, not the petioles, sorry, the nodes and the roots that are going to form will get nice fertilized water to encourage growth. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, so I'm just squeezing out the excess water here. And something I've learned recently, I mean, I've dealt with sphagnum moss for a while, and something I've heard is never let your pole completely dry out because it's going to be really hard to get it wet again, because dry sphagnum moss can repel water if it's too dry. That's what I've heard. And it's going to be harder to get it wet again. That's why we have to soak this, because I'm just matching the height of the node. I don't want to waste spag because I might need it for another plant. So that's what I'm going to do. Just put it at this height just to match how much is in here. And I don't want it to be too compact, but I want it to be enticing enough. I want it to touch those nodes to say, come on over. I want the nodes to be activated. So that's it. That's my Verrucosum. They grow up so fast. Oh, so cute. Okay, thank you. So next we're going to deal with this guy. So this is a Hoya Crimson Princess. Thank you. And this is also a Hoya Crimson Princess. So I got this one a couple months ago. I find the Crimson Princess to be a little bit on the tricky side. I don't think it's as easy as you think it should be, if you know what I mean. Does that make any sense? Because it's a Carnosa variety, I just feel like it should be a little bit easier. But anyways, I got this one from Home Depot recently, and I got it specifically for with the purpose of filling in this one and for making a mess on my table. Finally, Hoya seems to be making a comeback at Home Depot. So that is refreshing because for a while there weren't any. And in summertime, I feel like nurseries focus more on the outdoor stuff rather than the indoor houseplants. And it's a little not fun for those of us who love houseplants more. Wow, that came out easily. I did water it some time ago, as in a few days ago. if not yesterday, maybe a few days ago. All right, no pests on the roots. So I'm not going to reuse any of this medium. The current plant is in Molly's Aeroid Mix, my tried and true mixture. And man, this thing is so compact that, and just yuck, that I'm pretty sure that I would have overwatered this at some point. Let's see. Maybe even 4. I have a feeling. So that was 2 there, and we have 2 more here. So it's not my objective to, I don't want to mess with the roots too much, but I do want to get this substrate off. It literally feels like mud on the roots. Ugh, it's not a texture that I enjoy dealing with. I mean, I don't mind putting my fingers in soil. It's just, I don't like the way this soil feels. So I've cleaned off the roots as much as I can, and they still look really good. They look healthy. I'm a little nervous because I have done this before with this plant and with the Crimson Queen, and it didn't work out well. But the last time I did it, it was to put them in pon. And so that is definitely a much harder transition for a plant than putting it into Molly's Aeroid Mix, because the aeroid mixture is quite chunky. Like it behaves similarly, the plants behave similarly to being in soil. I don't know if I'm making sense. But anyways, this is my existing, or what's left of my Crimson Princess. You would have seen this maybe in 2 repotting videos ago, this plant, and it was weak. It was struggling. And yeah, so I am, oh, this feels wet. I'm surprised that it feels wet because it's not usually wet. Let's take a peek at its health here. I find the Crimson Princess, its leaves doesn't get that, you know, Hoya, how Hoya gets these cardboard tough leaves. It doesn't get like that. So like they get firm, but not like that kind of hard, really hard firm. But anyways, this is Molly's Aeroid Mix that I put it in. I was losing this plant. The day that I put it into this mixture, this plant was on its way out. And this mixture saved it. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm pushing the roots into the substrate, making some holes with my fingers and pushing it in. So just taking my fingers and creating a little space and then putting it in here. Oh man, this is so nice. It's a really pretty plant. The second plant is really nice. Now there's this thing going around regarding the Crimson Princesses. They're calling it, is it the princesses? But there's this Hoya tricolor, that name going around. And I've seen, you know, some people say online, oh, they're all the same, which they probably are. But I've noticed the tricolor, they look a little bit more cream than plants that are labeled as a Crimson Princess. I find the ones that are labeled as Crimson Princess have sort of a whiter variegation rather than the creamier variegation. Oh, I pulled this one up. How about instead of doing it like that, how about I group some of them together, smarty pants, and then put them in. It's just that it makes it a little bit bigger and harder to, because no, that's way too sensible to throw out some of the mixture. I also don't want to risk irritating the existing plants in here that are clearly finally recovering. So I don't want to risk disrupting them. Pretty. Last one. I'm going to put it in here because I don't know how many of these will survive. Remember the first plant of this I had? It was not well. I lost half of the original plant. The original plant I had, I lost a lot of it to only have these little bits left. So with this, especially because I went at the roots, I knocked off substrate, I don't know how this is going to react. I don't know how this one's going to react. Now this is my full pot. Yay! Of the Crimson Princess. This is what I mean when I bought this one as a tricolor. Do you see how much more creamier that one is? And then this one is a Crimson Princess. I bought it, well, I didn't buy it as a Crimson Princess, but it's a Crimson Princess. And you see how much whiter the variegation is on the inside? It could just be me. It probably is just me. But I got this at Home Depot. Can you imagine? This is stunning. So pretty. But anyways, that's this one. All right. I have so much more to share from this repotting session. Check out my Patreon at Lucian Steph to find out how I made the mix that I'm using, and you get to see other plants that I repotted in this session, including a Scindapsus exotica, my Hoya Heuschkeliana, and a Hoya Tequila Sunrise. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I appreciate you staying here and watching all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this video, you may like some of these other videos here, and you can subscribe by clicking right here. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.